This is the episode where Spike and Vicious talk about cutting and braiding the hair on their balls. Yeah, the dialogue in this episode is really bad. In fact, the whole episode is kinda bad. So this whole episode is a flashback showing the last few days of Spike and the Syndicate working with Vicious. Now that sounds great on paper, but the execution is terrible. Spike looks nothing how we all know and love, and he acts completely different as well. The Netflix Spike is all quips and takes nothing seriously, so when you take away that personality and that costume the viewer's been used to, we're essentially left with a different character. Vicious himself acts a bit cooler and is less ham and cheese in the flashback, but he definitely has way more lines and shows more of his personality. So yeah, he also feels like a new character. Adding all that up, this episode really doesn't feel like a Cowboy Bebop episode. If you're a newcomer to the series, you'll be confused as to why everything feels so off. As an anime fan, you'll cry at how bad they adapted the history of Spike and Vicious. Again, I'm breaking my moral code on not comparing this to the anime. The backstory here is that Vicious pissed off the Neptune cartel, so Spike has to kill Vicious, but they're bros, so that ain't happening. Instead, Spike randomly decides to one-man army kill the entire Neptune cartel, giving Vicious some credit for it. But Vicious's dad, who is an elder of the Syndicate, knows it's all bullshit. It really doesn't take much to convince Vicious to kill Spike after. I guess because he was always jealous of Spike being better than him, and he also took his girl, Julia, away from him. Julia, by the way, is a completely different character. She's a lounge singer who hits it off with Spike, and they decide to run away together after a 2-night stand. Anyways, Spike's death at the hands of Vicious is also really bad. They just stand there and shoot guns in stationary spots under a bridge, and then Spike goes flying into the water. So yeah, they changed a lot with this episode, and not for the better either. It makes no sense, since it's not like they added anything new or even simplified it for Western audiences. They just changed it for the sake of changing it. As a newcomer, this episode will come off as very confusing and abrupt. It barely explains the importance of Spike and Vicious's friendship and eventual betrayal. With that said, we're finally at the end. I can just see the light. Thanks so much for everyone who decided to stick around. That's right, all 4 of you. Now let's finish this series off.